everyone, it's Christmas time! I just got back from Ireland. Okay, well, to be honest, it isn't exactly Christmas. It's probably been about 2 weeks now since Christmas time. But this is basically the only time I could celebrate it, so I just decided I'd go ahead and tell you all about my trip. And I wasn't sure if I really should do this, but you know what, I decided we're all family here, you know? Out there's watching, it probably, somewhere out there is probably Uncle Billy. Uncle Billy, are you out there? And Cousin Joey, and Aunt Rosie, and you out there, you're either my brother, you're my sister, you're my cousin. We're all family here is the point I'm trying to make. And I decided to start off about my trip. Basically, I got into airport, and I was all dressed up to look as Irish as possible. I had on my top green felt hat. I actually have pictures on my Facebook if you want to take a look at it. I had on my green jacket, some boots, and I just wanted to look as Irish as possible. And it seemed to work. I had quite a few people, they come up and say, "Hey, you looking for your pot of gold?" And, you leprechaun? And, you know, I just tried to blend in, just act natural, just act Irishy. But anyways, we headed off. We finally arrived in Ireland, and the first place we went to was Giant's Causeway. It was amazing going to Giant's Causeway because it's just these bunch of like rectangular stones, and they're all strewn across the ocean almost like a bridge. And it was also one of the places where the Thief Prince, you might recognize that character from my stories, was said to have visited before. Also a lot of giants were said to have visited that area. And, you know, it just felt like I was becoming part of the Fireside Tales when I was there, seeing real locations from the stories. We actually did end up seeing a seal. We didn't see any giants, but I got pretty close to it. I didn't get as close as my sister's boyfriend, but I got to see a seal up close. So that was kind of cool. We also went to see this other castle where there was said to be mermaids living there. The mermaids had probably moved off by the time I arrived there, but I did get a sense of the grandeur of the castle, and where the mermaids would have rested. They would have probably lived in the cave next to the castle. Anyways, after that, we pretty much went to the hotel. We had a little bit of Christmas dinner. I actually met up with some representatives from the Fireside Tales. We discussed business, mostly elf-related. Mostly just historical stuff about, like, what we should go next, how should we best to get the brand out there. But after doing business, I basically went on vacation, because the Fireside Tales was paying for most of this, and they wanted me to see some of the most famous locations from the stories. Anyways, we continued on. We went to Croagh Patrick, which is the famous place where St. Patrick was said to go, and it was said he used to climb up the mountain barefoot. And I have to admit that climbing up Croagh Patrick, I have some footage of that, but it was probably one of the hardest things. Well, it was up there as one of the toughest things I've ever done in my life. It's this massive climb. You can't begin to imagine how steep it was, and the rocks were like sliding underneath my feet. And I kept climbing and climbing and hoping to reach the top. And when I finally made it to the very top of the mountain, there was just this sense of euphoria. And you can really see it in my eyes when you look at the video from that day. It was so beautiful out there. All of Ireland was just sprawled out in front of me. And it looked like something from Lord of the Rings. There was a church there, and there was the bed where St. Patrick was said to sleep, which was just 4 metal rods, and I began to question how tough I was compared to St. Patrick. But anyways, after that, we ended up going back down the mountain. I was afraid that people in Ireland found that walk to be easy, that was just something everyone in Ireland did. But when we went to a restaurant, one of the waiters there said, "Oh, you went up Croagh..." I can't do an Irish accent. Let me just do a pirate accent instead. "Well, you mates, you went up Croagh Patrick? What are you, crazy?" Anyways, after that, we decided we'd go to the Cliffs of Moher. And out of all the sites in Ireland, I think the Cliffs of Moher might have been the most beautiful. It has been used in a lot of movies. I think Harry Potter used it. There was another movie from like the 70s, I think it was The Princess's Bride, which supposedly used the location. And I'll say this, there's never been something so big and so epic to see. There's this castle out on the front of the ledge, and the drop was just so incredible. And I mean, just looking out and you see the sea and the cave that was stood there. It was taller than like a house. It was about as tall as a building. And just looking out, it just took my breath away. Anyways, we continued on. One thing I definitely saw a lot of as we traveled on the road, because a lot of times that was what this was, just driving around on the roads a lot, were sheep. There were a lot of sheep, especially in the north where these things were. There were just sheep everywhere, and they were all like painted. They were like painted blue and orange and pink. And anyways, sort of the North's attitude was a lot different from the South's attitude. The North was a little bit more, there was a sort of sense of rebellion in the air, I would say, while the South was more like fun-loving, and that's where we started to head to next, the South. One of the places that I went to was the Blarney Stone. I actually went to the Blarney Castle, and the first thing we did was we went down this cave, and I got pictures of that too. I went down into the cave, and I didn't know what was down there, and none of the rest of my family were willing to go down in the cave except me. And I went down there, but aside of a few metal objects and this like little cube that was like spluttering electricity, I wasn't able to find anything of very much interest. There was some graffiti, but basically nothing much down there. But I kept going. There was the huge castle, and I'll go ahead and admit that Blarney Castle was probably one of the most amazing places that I went to on the trip, for me personally. Most of you who would go to Ireland probably wouldn't find Blarney Castle be the best part, because I imagine that most of the time there's probably a lot of tourists there. When we went there, it was raining really hard, and there just weren't a lot of people. We were able to just get in line to the Blarney Stone. There might have been 3 people in front of us. So I went up there, and it was raining really hard. And I walked up to the stone, and I leaned down, and the guy was like, "Oh, you gotta grab both bars," or however they talk down there. So anyways, I grabbed both bars, and I leaned down in this long fall, and the only thing guarding me from a long fall was 2 bars, which had been placed there obviously so tourists didn't fall down, and I actually kissed the Blarney Stone. And it was a magical experiment. It was the height of my Ireland trip for me personally. I don't really know how to describe it, but I got up and we headed back down. Mom didn't go with us because she was feeling sick. Anyways, I ended up getting some souvenirs from the trip, which I'd like to go ahead and show you all. I got this haunted Ireland because I have a weakness for ghost stories. And I got this Lucky Charm. I was going to get a hat, but my mom, there was this big like green leprechaun hat, but my mom wouldn't let me take it with her. I thought it was pretty awesome, but she didn't get it. Oh, I also got this rubber ducky. It's not really that great. It's not big enough for me, but... Oh, I also got this from the Cliffs of Moher, too. This is a ticket to show that I was there. Anyways, one of the other places we went to was Dublin, I think. Yeah, Dublin. It was amazing going into Dublin, because I thought it was just going to be kind of like a New York City, a lot of like smoke and a lot of people bustling around. But Dublin ended up being one of my favorite towns on the trip. There was a lot of nice people. Everyone was just so friendly, and it's kind of funny. It's basically religion and beer. I went up to one of the churches there. It was this big, huge building. I actually got pictures of it. And I looked at the thing, and it was one of the advertisements was talking about how the church, how it was built, and like right underneath it there was the word "sponsored by Guinness," and apparently everyone there, they go to church on Sunday and then they go right to the pub. So that's pretty much how Ireland is. I wouldn't go as far as to say everyone in Ireland is probably drinking all the time, but it's pretty much probably what happens. And we got to see a whole bunch of other stuff on the Ireland trip. We got to go see the Guinness factory. There was this museum of history. We got to learn about Brian Boru and, what was it, the Michael who slayed the mighty dragon. And it was an experience unlike any other. If you ever get the chance to go to Ireland, I definitely recommend it. It's a beautiful country, and the people there are incredibly nice, and I have absolutely nothing bad to say about it except their sodas suck. With that said, I decided to end off and just to say goodbye to you all and Merry Christmas and all. I wanted to make a wish to the videos that are going to come on this channel. And I'm going to say a little prayer. I'm going to say it to the internet, God. Probably PewDiePie. He's the most popular. Okay. PewDiePie? If you're out there, I just wanted to make a wish for this channel. One wish, which is all I need for you to grant for me. My one desire for this channel is that I will be funny. And that's all. I don't want to be funny like you. I would not want to mimic your power. Just simply my own sort of funny, if I could be allowed to have that, PewDiePie. You are a merciful and you are a wonderful God of the internet, and if you could help me out with this, I would greatly appreciate it. Bless you and amen.